Okay, welcome to part 2 of my Q&A. This is my Q&A for hitting 20,000 subscribers. If you've already watched part 1, good for you. If you haven't, I will link it on the screen, but let's get into part 2 of these questions. Now we are getting into reading and writing questions. Was there ever a time in your life when you weren't a reader? Why, and what made you start again? So yes, there was definitely a time in my life when I wasn't a reader. I've been a reader almost since, I started reading when I was a kid, but my senior year of high school and my freshman year of college, I really didn't read, anything. And the reason that was is because my senior year and my freshman year were times when I kind of discovered fandom, and I threw myself in wholeheartedly, and basically for that year and a half or more, I read fan fiction. I'm gonna be 100% upfront with you, I read hundreds of thousands of words of fan fiction. So I was still reading, but I didn't touch books. I read maybe 10 books or less over that entire period of time. I just wasn't that interested in picking them up. It became a problem because I was also running a book blog on Tumblr, and I wasn't feeling creative or involved because I wasn't reading books anymore. And then in my sophomore year, in January of my sophomore year, I discovered BookTube and started watching BookTube, and that got me to start reading again, and that's kind of it. I think that's how we got to where I am today, reading as many books as I do. Favorite adaptation and least favorite adaptation. My favorite adaptation is The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I think that it is incredible, and second place goes to Gone Girl. Least favorite adaptation probably goes to Ella Enchanted, because Ella Enchanted is one of my favorite books, and so I just take that one very, very personally. And then a second place would probably go to Aragon, or A Series of Unfortunate Events, or Percy Jackson and the Olympians. There have been a lot of bad adaptations, but I think that Ella Enchanted might take the cake. How long have you been collecting books? I don't know if there was a specific time when I started collecting books, because books have always just been around me. I've always had them. My mom taught me to read when I was really young, and she encouraged me to constantly read. I bet I probably started asking for my own books and started asking people to purchase them for me when I was around 9 or 10. That's when I discovered A Series of Unfortunate Events, but I've just always had books. Was there a reading tradition you had in your family as a child? I don't know if this counts as a reading tradition, but my mom read to me a lot when I was really young, and she would read to me every day. I was homeschooled for a majority of my life. I didn't start public schooling until I was in 8th grade. I had a couple of years of private school, but I was homeschooled for a majority of my life. And so there was a lot of her reading to me, even after I got to the point where I could read to myself. She read the entire Little House on the Prairie series to me. She read the entire Narnia series to me. Peter Pan, A Wrinkle in Time, a lot more. The Secret Garden, The Lost Prince. There were so many that she read to me. And I think that became a tradition, is my mom reading books to me. Will you ever publish a book written by you? That is a good question. I have been writing for a lot of years. I started writing in junior high or earlier. I've always been a writer. I'm just not a finisher. I like to write the first half of short stories or the first quarter of novels. I have the first quarter of numerous novels just sitting on my laptop that will hopefully someday be finished, but who knows. If you ever wrote a novel, what genre would it be, and what would be the name of one of your characters? If we were going to talk about my most recent project, it's a thing I started but abandoned a while ago. I'd really like to get back to it because I was really passionate about it for a while, but it was about a group of queer 20-somethings who go on a cruise together, and lots of shenanigans ensue. There's lots of falling in love, and I was really excited about it. One of the main characters of that book was named Genevieve Walker, or Jenna, and I loved her. She was a fabulous lesbian, and someday I will finish writing her story. Or not. We don't know. I've never finished one. How many books do you own versus how many of those have you actually read? This could be completely off for numerous reasons, but I checked my Goodreads, and according to Goodreads, I own 265 physical books. I'm not including ebooks or e-arcs. Those don't count, but I also know I have a couple of duplicate copies of books that aren't being counted in that, so around 265. Of those, 41 of them are unread, which is about 15%. But like I said, that's all physical books, and that does not include any of the ebooks that I have read or not read. Favorite books that you read for school? Alright, this is hard. If we go back to high school, Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie was one that I loved. To Kill a Mockingbird, obviously. I read Pride and Prejudice for school. If we get into college, we read Frankenstein. Actually, I read Frankenstein in high school too, so both of those. I read The Picture of Dorian Gray and Carmilla. Both of those were fabulous. Fun Home is wonderful. Persepolis is wonderful. Those are a few that I've read and really loved reading for classes and such. And now into a general about me section. This is stuff that's about me that I didn't really fit into any of these other categories. The lovely Alexa from Alexa Loves Books asked me what my favorite places to visit were in New York that weren't bookstores. Tricky, because I feel like she called me out on the fact that I was definitely gonna say the Strand, but okay, no bookstores. I really love going to Brooklyn Flea and Smorgasburg. Those are a couple of my favorites. I go there a lot because amazing food, but also I just really like Brooklyn Flea. If you've ever seen my metal letters that I have up above me on this shelf, there's a C and a J. Those were from Brooklyn Flea. Sort of a cliche answer, but I really love Central Park, and I've always enjoyed going to Central Park. The first time I visited New York City, I was 13, and I flew out, and we just got to wander around. We went and, we found the fountain from Doctor Who and from Enchanted, and that was like a really cool moment. I loved that. But I love wandering around Central Park, and it remains a place that I visited a lot of times and always really enjoy. That's kind of it for specific places. I always enjoy going into the city. I always have a good time. Last semester, I spent so much time there. I was there 3 days a week doing my internship, but that was mainly me going back and forth from Penn Station to Union Square. And Union Square is where the Strand is, so it almost doesn't even count to say Union Square. Have you ever won a competition or a giveaway? Yes, I've won lots of competitions, and that is because growing up I was a gymnast and I was a dancer, and I won a lot of those things. I was a gymnast for more time, and I won a lot of those, but I kind of petered out and didn't care about gymnastics anymore, so my mom enrolled me in dance, and I was a dancer for a number of years, won lots of solo competitions, and then eventually I became a tumbling coach at my old dance studio, so had a lot of fun winning that stuff, and eventually applied it to a job, and it was great. What is a favorite place that you have visited and a place that you most want to visit? So many people ask me this. So, in case you don't know, I studied abroad. The first year on BookTube, I was living in London for like 3.5 months, which was weird. So London is, of course, one of my favorite places I've ever been. I got to live there. It got to be my home for a while, and I will always have a special place in my heart because of it. But my favorite place that I've visited is Ireland. I got to go to a few different places in Ireland. I stayed in Dublin, but I got to go to the Cliffs of Moher. I got to go to a couple of towns, and it's the most beautiful place I've ever been in my entire life. The other place that compares to it is probably Venice in Italy. I loved Venice. As far as places I really want to visit, I went to Mexico when I was really, really young, so I don't have a lot of memories of it. I would love to go back. I'd love to visit a few of the European countries I missed. I didn't get to go to like Germany, and I'd love to visit Germany. I'd love to go to Spain. I really wanted to go to Barcelona when we were there, but it didn't happen. And I'd really love to visit New Zealand, but that plane ride horrifies me. What are some bands and musical artists that you listen to? I feel like you guys might know some of my favorite bands by this point. Panic at the Disco is my favorite band, and then of course I really, really love 21 Pilots, Imagine Dragons. I love Florence and the Machine. ZZ Ward is one of my favorite artists. I love her, and I also really love Elle King. I love the Lumineers, the Mountain Goats. I really love Bastille, and then I love the Dresden Dolls and Amanda Palmer separately and together. Yeah, those are a few of my favorites. Favorite Panic at the Disco album. I've been assured this is going to get me skewered alive. The first Panic album that I ever heard was Pretty Odd. I did not hear them when the first album came out, and so the first album exposure I had to them was Pretty Odd. And it remains my favorite. I'm sorry, I know that that is like sacrilege, but I love Pretty Odd. After that, my second favorite is probably Vices and Virtues. What are some of your hobbies besides reading? So like I've said, my hobbies kind of go back and forth. I like to write, but that happens on and off. I watch a lot of TV when I can. I don't think travel counts as a hobby, but I love traveling. In fact, Janelle and I are going on a road trip at the beginning of March for spring break, and I cannot wait because I love traveling, especially love traveling with Janelle, so yeah. Oh, and music. Music is a big hobby of mine. I play the ukulele and I play the guitar. I taught myself both of those instruments, so I play and I sing and I write music, and that's a pretty big hobby for me too. Do you plan on getting any more tattoos? In case you don't know, I have one tattoo. It is the Deathly Hallows that's on my wrist here. But yes, I do plan to get more tattoos. I want to get a minimalist Lord of the Rings tattoo. That is the next one that I have planned, of mountains on one of the maps in Lord of the Rings. I'm excited about that one. I want to get a Disney tattoo with a quote that I'm really excited about. I'd love to get a book tattoo at some point. Those are kind of my tattooish plans. They're gonna take a while. It was really nice to get this one because my cousin's a tattoo artist, and so, obviously I still paid to get it, but it was discounted. It was my cousin. And Tattoos are expensive, but I would like to get more eventually. Favorite song at the moment? Again, I have a couple. Cake by the Ocean remains one of my favorites. It's so much fun. I love listening to Cake by the Ocean by DNCE. Ophelia by the Lumineers is one that I've been listening to a lot. The Judge by 21 Pilots I've been listening to a lot. If Ever I Stray by Frank Turner. And The Funeral by Band of Horses, which is always a favorite song for me. What is your hair history? Okay, I'm so excited about this one because I'm going to include pictures, and this is such a fun question because if you've been watching me, you know that I've changed my hair a lot, even the last couple of years. That did not start because I started YouTube. I've always had ridiculous hair. I don't know if I'll have a picture of the first time I dyed my hair, but the first time I dyed it, I was 8 or 9. I had super long blonde hair, if you can believe it. My hair's never been long except for that point, and I put pink streaks in it. Okay, so in junior high, I went through a lot of different things. First of all, in 8th grade, I had this weird thing where I dyed the top like white and the bottom purple. It's not a great look. This is the very first photo on my Facebook. The first one is this. So then I went through a weird thing where it was still sort of the same length, but it was these really dirty, gross, washed out colors where I think that I'd had brown in it and then it washed out, so it was just kind of gross looking. In 9th grade, I think that is the closest that will come when I was younger to what I have currently right now, which is it was almost my natural color. My natural color is probably a little bit darker than this, but it was just blonde and fun and kind of long. Then we got into high school and I started doing big stuff. First we have this number. My hair is 4 different colors in this photo, I believe. So it's that base blonde color, and then there is blue, yellow, and I don't know if you can see it, but there's purple in the back, and it's this really asymmetrical thing. Clearly, I still like that. After that, I went for even more colors. So in here, we've got pink, purple, blue, brown, and blonde. Those are all of the colors represented in this hair. Then I chopped all my hair off and went through what was an extended mom hair phase. So my hair was dark brown, or it went to like reddish brown, and it kind of looked like this. And then I got my glasses in my sophomore year of high school. Still had reddish brown hair for a while, and then I went through my spiky hair phase. So first, that was dark brown and pink, as seen in this photo of me going to a dance. I want to say cotillion maybe, but it was dark brown and then pink, and every day I would spike it. This continued on when I took out the pink and it was just brown and then blonde, so it looked like I had ice tips a little bit. Then we went through my gayest hair phase, which was fire engine red and just like a couple of inches long. I really wanted fire engine red hair. This is what I wound up with. Sometimes I would do it up in this weird pompadour like I was Elvis. I don't know why I made those decisions. And then we get into college. College, I started with dark brown hair, pretty short, and I was a pretty big fan of it. I liked my hair this length and I liked my hair this color, but Janelle has very similar hair, and people, for some reason, think we look alike, even though we don't, and people kept assuming we were sisters, and that really pissed me off. So I went back to blonde, which is okay. I love my blonde hair, and I think I look better with blonde hair. Plus, blonde is closer to my natural color than brown is. I don't have like super blonde hair like this. It's probably like dirty dishwater blonde at this point. So I went closer to my natural color, which is this hair. Then I got bored, so I went a little bit lighter and I put red at the front. I wanted red bangs. That is what this looked like. Then, for fun, I really wanted to dye my hair blue. So Janelle and I dyed it blue, and it looked like this. And now we're getting into what it looked like when I started my channel. So pretty short, pixie cut, just light blonde, which I really loved. Shortly before I went to London, I added blue into my bangs. Then it was blonde again for a while. I bleached it myself in London, and I got back and dyed it pink, like super pink and blonde. That was fun for a little while. After a couple of months of that, I bleached it all out. I shaved the side of my head, and I had the, kind of almost undercut looking hair with the longer on one side, shaved on the other. I've had that for a while, and that's pretty much been it. I think that that's where we stand right now with this haircut. This side is no longer shaved. I keep it short, but I don't like it as much shaved, so it's just asymmetrical with my hair like this. I usually like to keep it a little bit shorter, but that is the look. I know that I missed one. I think that in junior high, I also did a thing where I had my hair about here, and it was brown with blue stripes. That was an interesting move. When I was a kid, I had it like curled under really hardcore, like blonde, my natural color obviously, with these big curls in it, and super short. That's what I looked like when I was a kid. I think that's it. I think that's my hair journey. I hope that you've enjoyed taking it with me. I'm sure it will continue to change, but I'm a pretty big fan of this color and this cut, so yeah. Okay guys, that is everything. Those are all of the questions that I have from my Q&A that I'm gonna answer at this time. There were a lot more, but I got to as many of them as I possibly could. The winner of the giveaway. So the randomly selected winner of my 2017 pre-order from Book Depository was Mary, and Mary's most anticipated release was The Love Interest. Congrats to Mary. I will be emailing you and letting you know that you won. Congrats, you won a pre-order, probably of The Love Interest from Book Depository. Thank you guys so much for all of these questions. I had so much fun answering them and going through all of them. They were a great time. If I didn't answer questions about college, it's because when I graduate in May, I'm going to do a full Q&A video dedicated to college questions, so just keep those college questions and I'll answer them then. Thank you for subscribing, for watching my videos, for caring. I love you guys and I love making these videos. Thank you for all that you do and all that you watch, and I will see you in another video very soon.